My name is Swin and you're watching Pulse episode 32. And there's a surprising amount of Starcraft news this week. We're gonna have a look at the week Protoss race and some interesting tricks you can do in Starcraft 2. The GSL 3 is about to conclude its round of 32 and there's a ton of other interesting tournament and player news, so let's check it out. Blizzard has just recently issued another round of account suspensions and bans. Now while it's probably not as many as last time, these guys were still in violation of the terms of use and were using cheats and or hacking programs. Blizzard also say that they will continue to monitor Battle.net for any more suspicious activity and they will step in should it be necessary. Great news. An interesting thread popped up on the Southeast Asian Starcraft 2 forums recently. I think the only reason that this is actually interesting and worth talking about, because there are probably quite a few of these out there, is because a blue poster actually replied to it. The thread was titled, "Is Protoss the weakest race?" and the player was looking for answers to that question. Blizzard deemed it worth a response and jumped into the fray. Firstly, they say that the GSL was not in fact the reason behind the Zerg buff, and that they always take a multi-pronged approach when deciding to either nerf or buff a race. The most interesting line in the response though has got to be the following. Some players have been reporting that the race feels a little weak and that matches our in-house testing. I know I might be taking this out of context now, but that's what us in the news industry do. So if you want to read the full reply from Blizzard and read a bit more about the eternal struggle of balancing the game, then you can check that all out below. A poster called The Rabid Deer on the Team Liquid forums has set up a nice thread containing quite a few interesting tricks that you can pull off in Starcraft 2. Some of them seem pretty useless, but some of the others, well, I guess they could come in handy in some obscure situations. Cloak dodging, pathing exploits, and my personal favorites, Colossus and Reaper skywalking. So if you want to check out those tricks or try them for yourselves, then you'd better check that post out below. Starcraft 2 is much more fun on a touchscreen. Well, it looks like it at least. A nice video has been released of two guys battling it out in Starcraft 2 on some pretty big touchscreens. It is, as they say, a completely interactive and immersive experience, and all I can say is that I'm really jealous because that does in fact look like a lot of fun. So you can check that video out below along with a description of what's going on and what's gone into it. Enjoy! So the fourth and final playday of the GSL round of 32 has begun and nearly been completed at the time of recording this. As usual, a bunch of great games were played and a bunch of big names aren't going to be making it through to the round of 16. This week we say goodbye to Sin, Idra, Genius, Ret and Moon. You can obviously find the names of all the guys that did make it through below as well, along with all the other results from the round of 32. Sadly, I didn't catch Boxer's games as I really had to start recording, so I'll add a little widget or slider or something to let you guys know what happened with the Emperor. Below you can also read about a few rumors that have been going around, which, for the record, I don't quite believe. A pretty obsessed fan believes that GomTV is supporting Boxer by placing him, mostly at least, against Terran opponents. Now the fan thinks, and he may or may not be right, that Boxer's best matchup is in fact TVT. Now he's not dissing or hating on Boxer or GomTV, he's just pointing out that it does look a little fishy. One thing that is pretty funny though is that GomTV actually replied to this fan's doubts and gave us all a little peace of mind. They said that they put one of each of the top 4 players in each bracket and then tried to split the rest of the races evenly in each group. They say that doing this they will be able to balance it as much as they possibly can, but they can't choose races for players, so the fact that there are more Terran players doesn't really help them out very much. Also, even more drama, there's been a lot of talk that the guys at GomTV and the GSL are rigging maps too. Seriously guys. In Season 3 of the GSL, the GomTV guys decided to remove the map veto system. The veto system allows each player to eliminate one map before the map selection actually starts. The reason for changing the system was because they were seeing the same maps over and over in every single round, so they decided to do something about that and spice things up a bit. They also say that later in the tournament, when it moves to best of 5 or best of 7s, that the players will most likely play pretty much all the maps and that the players should, by now at least, know all the maps. So I guess that's a pretty reasonable explanation and those rumors should be quelled. Lastly, they say the maps were not rigged and they actually spent 20 minutes cutting pieces of paper, putting them in a box and drawing them out of that box. One of the biggest Starcraft 2 events of the year, Dreamhack, has been completed, and I gotta say the event looked incredibly fun, and I wish I could have sat here all weekend long listening to Day 9 and all his casting partners. There was a bit of drama though concerning the fact that the group stages were best of one, but that faded fast when players actually started concentrating fully on their games. In a pretty exciting and incredibly dramatic final series, Nama managed to win the first 2 games against Mana. Mana managed to fight back though and take the next 2 games off Nama pretty convincingly. It came down to a final set which in the end Nama managed to win. So yes, 3-2 to Nama, and he walks away with over 10,000 euro in prize money. Mana pockets around 3,000 euro for his second place and Phoenix about 2,000 for his third. Below you can find all the details you could possibly want from various different sites that covered the event, so check that out if you're interested. There are a few extras to be seen too. Gosu Gamers have some really cool interviews up with some of the players and casters that were at the event. There's also, as there always seems to be, a great recap thread of the entire event over at the Team Liquid forum, so check any of that out if you're interested too. I thought I'd just mention that the StarCraft 2 top 200 lists have been updated again, and you can find that on any of the official StarCraft 2 websites, or just check the links below. Bob Koleko, the public relations manager of Blizzard, was recently interviewed by Games on Net about the challenges of launching StarCraft 2 in Korea. With Bob was Chris Davey, the senior brand manager for Blizzard in the New Zealand and Australia regions. So as I actually mentioned a week or two ago, the launch of StarCraft 2 was not all peaches and cream in South Korea. Blizzard are struggling to get the Korean gamers to embrace StarCraft 2, and I guess I can sort of understand it because they did have 11 good years with StarCraft 1. So if you want to read that interview with Blizzard employees, which actually covers a bit of Kespa information, GOM TV, the lack of LAN mode, and much more, then you can check that out below. We've been treated with a look at the Slayers or SLS clan roster. Now, while the names on the list are mostly unknowns, there is one name that a lot of people will know, Sela from the former Wera clan. There are a lot of interesting names on the list though, and we did hear before that Boxer was looking to get the up-and-comers instead of recruiting the well-known players that are already in teams. So if you want to read more about the Emperor and his new Slayers clan, then you'd better check that out below. In some smaller news, Naniwa has joined up with Power Gaming. The guys over at Polofluke have a very nice to-the-point interview up with Dimaga. The Liquid Weekly number 18 has been released, and this one's packed full of GSL 3 goodness. With Dreamhack over, you can also hear a pretty interesting, if slightly crazy, interview with Nama. The interview was done by DJ Wheat and his merry band of men, and they also include their pro gaming without the fluff segment, which does seem to get pretty ugly at times. The hard workers from over at Team Liquid bring us the first monthly issue of Ponytails. Ponytails is a pretty interesting and very well presented magazine covering, well, Team Liquid and their various endeavors in the community. It's brilliantly put together and it looks like a real should-be-printed magazine, so if you want some slightly more light-hearted entertainment, then check that out below, along with any of the other small pieces of news I just mentioned. So on the local side of things, don't forget that we have Polofluke Xmas coming up this weekend. So if you're interested in watching or listening to some homegrown StarCraft 2 goodness, or want a shot at getting those prizes, then you'd better hang around and be here this weekend. You can find out anything you want to know about Polofluke over at polofluke.co.za, or just check the links below. GG 2010 has been released. This is a documentary about the history of the South African gaming and esports scene. You can check that out to see the long and winding road that our gamers had to travel. This documentary was thought up and created by Yaku Entirety Diedrichs and his team. There are various interesting interviews and some other snippets from South African gaming history that you won't want to miss. What's no doubt best of all though is that I did in fact do the narration work for the whole thing, so if anything that should be a reason for you to check it out. Yes, I'm so full of myself. I'll give you guys a link to the YouTube channel containing that entire documentary below. Enjoy. Chase has once again retained his title of Grudge Love King of the Hill. He won the best of 5 series against Calican with a clean 3-0, but it was still pretty fun and some of the games were pretty close. It's great to see some Zergs stepping up to the plate. I won't be giving you a full battle report right here, but I will be linking you to the VODs of the event, so you can check that out below. Sadly, we won't be having a Grudge Love this coming weekend because there's just too much other stuff happening. We will, however, be setting up something pretty special for everyone sometime soon after this weekend. So keep checking back here for more on that. Sadly, I have to leave you guys again, but thanks for watching the video. Thanks for liking, sharing, favoriting, subscribing, all of that. But most importantly, guys, Happy Starcrafting.